Awesome. Yay. We did it. Okay, so how are we looking here? Mike is good. All right, get the chat rolling. Okay, cool. Got it. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to mention them in the comments and I will address them today. We're doing a Q&A live stream. Okay. Live streaming will never not be awkward for me. Cool. Okay, guys. Well, we're here for another live stream. This is going to be episode 301. Sadly, Christy is not with us today. She's got the COVID, and we are praying for her that she recovers. I had it a couple of weeks ago. It knocked me down for 10 days. I was hurting. I know she's in the middle of it, so we hope that she feels better soon. Push those fluids and snuggle up. Maybe just watch some movies and relax. And we look forward to seeing you soon. So if you guys have any questions, message them in the comments. I was actually going to skip this week. I was going to take this week off while she recovered, but so much is going on with the industry. I just thought, you know what? Let's just get on here and chat with everybody, and let's just talk about this Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount thing going on right now because it's absolutely crazy. I'm sure everybody's aware of it. But I wanna discuss it. So this all started with a bang when Netflix offered Warner Brothers 80 billion. That's billion with a B, guys. I didn't even know there was that much money in the world. Offer them 80 billion for an acquisition of Warner Brothers Studios. They really don't want all the other stuff like CNN and things like that, but they want the studios. And Warner Brothers was interested, so they've accepted the offer. Nothing is finalized. I want that to be clear. Now, after that happened, Paramount kind of freaked out and offered them, I want to say like $108 billion for Netflix, but they want for Warner Brothers, and they want everything. They don't just want the studios like Netflix does. They want all of the affiliates, including CNN, and I think that might be the purpose behind the bid. It's more than just a cherry on top, from my opinion. So let's discuss kind of what happens if each gets control, because this is not sealed yet. This will probably end up in the courts. This thing's going to take at least a year, maybe even 2 years to finally get settled, with government approval and all of that stuff. I mean, we're talking about a monopoly here, guys. Those used to be, big no-nos, but for some reason the world is just slowly turning. I wouldn't even say slowly. It is just turning into Blade Runner, and we are being run by corporations. So let's talk about what happens if Netflix, the acquisition goes through with Warner Brothers. And this is so much. I've got notes, guys. So I am referring to notes. There's no way I can memorize all this jazz. All right. So Netflix's core belief, right? Their business model is streaming. They don't care about theatrical releases. They have said this. This is a statement. And I mean, I remember being on Netflix back when it was just launched, when we were getting CDs in the mail. Oh, and by the way, it was actually really cool back then because you could look at your friends' Netflix lists for movie recommendations, and you could even send recommendations online to your friends. They get rid of all that stuff, unfortunately, probably for privacy reasons. But it was kind of cool seeing like, oh, my friend is watching this. I'm gonna watch that movie. Now, if Netflix gets Warner Brothers Studio, what we're gonna see is really an exaggeration of what's happening right now. Like, I went to go see a Knives Out story, Wake Up Dead Man, right? At the theater because I wanted to see it in the theater. and it was only in the theater for a couple of days. Came out Netflix like the day after I saw it. Theatrical release was over. That is the future. If Netflix gets Warner Brothers, that is what you're going to see. Big theatrical releases are just going to be used as advertising for the streamer, right? It's a big problem. Mostly a big problem for mid budget films, that $20 million to $50 million range. That is what you're going to see really get affected by theatrical releases. That's the big problem. So you're seeing essentially a shrinkage of the industry, right? That's if Netflix wins. This Netflix Warner Brothers merger thing, or Paramount Warner Brothers merger thing, this isn't like a good bad. This is like a bad, honestly, but a bad in different ways. Does the industry shrink if Netflix buys it? Or if Warner Brothers goes through? Let's talk about that. Warner Brothers, if they get their acquisition, they had to raise 108 billion, and I'm sorry, Paramount had to raise 108 billion for Warner Brothers if they get that acquisition. They don't have that kind of money. Like Paramount has been hurting for money for a while. So they had to go to outside resources. And this is what everybody was hoping. Paramount will come in, Paramount will get Warner Brothers, they'll save the industry. Nothing will change really if Paramount gets it. That's what people think. Nothing is going to change. They'll just merge. It'll be two huge studios together, and theatrical releases will continue. That is true. However, there is a big asterisk there, and it is a but. Where does the money come from? That's what you gotta look at. Follow the money, guys. The money is coming from a few other places, specifically like oil barons, Saudis, are pouring in a bunch of money. Why would they do that? That's been a thing going on recently. They've been acquiring different things, such as sports. They put a lot of money into sports. And they would acquire this as well. They won't be the full owner of it. I mean, they would just have influence. That's what you have to understand. Like, it's a bunch of different firms coming together, not to include the whole Jared Kushner thing, which was ties to Trump's. I mean, that's obvious. We don't really need to get into that, why that's happening. It's favoritism. I actually think the kernel here is CNN. See, Paramount owns CBS right now, right? CNN is part of Warner Brothers. So if you own CBS and you own CNN, you get to now control the narrative of what people see, what people hear in the news. That's soft power. And if you have international money coming in with a strong influence, they can then start saying, you know what, this topic is, we don't want to discuss this. And it just kind of floats away. So you don't get all of the information, all the truth, all the stories that you should be getting from the news. Soft power. You get to set that precedent. That's dangerous. So that's what happens if Paramount gets the acquisition. But the industry really won't change. I mean, you're going to have big theatrical releases. Those mid-budget movies aren't going to be affected. So it's saving one thing, but you're losing another. Ultimately, I would like nothing to happen. I would like Warner Brothers just to be Warner Brothers. But one of them is going to go through. Now, this becoming a monopoly is really interesting because one could argue that Netflix wins either way. If they don't get the acquisition, say Paramount gets it. Okay, Paramount gets it. Netflix has still won because this thing will be going through the courts for at least a year, 2 years. When that happens, right, the studio that is being acquired isn't really allowed to do anything. So they are on hold. They are on pause. Their streamer does nothing. It just, everything that's in the pipe is all they have. They're not getting more stuff, which allows Netflix to continue gaining more subscribers and owning that space. So they have essentially put a hard 1 to 2 year pause on their competition, which is brilliant. They win either way. Let's talk about the monopolization of this, though, right? So Netflix is number one, right? They are number one in the streamer. Paramount is like number two. A lot of people like to say, oh, well, Disney's up there, Amazon's up there. And I have to argue they're not. Disney has a streaming service. It is not a streamer. It makes its money on IPs, toys, and going to their theme parks. That's where they make their money. They don't really make their money on streaming. In fact, they've lost money, which is why you don't see a lot of things streaming on Disney anymore. Right? They were pumping them out. Now you're really not getting shows because they've lost so much money. It's cost jobs. Amazon is not a streamer. It happens to have a streaming service, right? But its entire streaming service goal is to keep you being a Prime member because they are an online retailer. So I do not consider them part of like the big three. It would be Netflix, it would be Warner Brothers because they have Max, and it would be Paramount, who has been struggling, right? Those are the top three. Well, if one of those gets acquired, now it's two, and that's it. So you lose even more competition, which is a problem because then you start to see your rates go up. And then next thing you know, if you're not paying the old cable fees like we were back in the day, you will be paying them now. All right, let me flip through my notes here, guys. And I will look at questions. So, one thing I was hearing somebody asked is, well, how does this affect us as indie writers? What do we do with this information? If either, like, say Netflix gets the acquisition and the industry shrinks. I mean, I would say you keep doing what you're doing. You just have to really stop trying to chase the gig and start creating the gig. You start creating the package. You start creating the IP. You start finding the niche, right? So that when you present it or you start looking for the money, you become the creator more than just a writer trying to find the gig. If you're going for those types of bigger services, if you're going for more of the mid range, you've got Tubi, you've got Freevee, you've got Roku TV, right? You've got all of those smaller streamers that have like the quote free services. I mean, that can be your lane. You get the right producer, you have the good enough script, you get a good enough production, you can get it on there and you can skip all of this other stuff that you don't have to worry about. So there is a lane there. There is hope. I would not give up hope. But I think it's important to address that because a lot of people see this and think, well, great, why am I even doing this thing if I can't even get stuff made anymore? It's not true. And that's not even including international markets. There is still international Canada and UK and other places that are looking for, really good scripts and contents that you can get out there and get made. So it's still a thing. Let me see if anybody has any questions. I'm going to kind of scroll through here because I've seen some stuff popping up. Somebody asked about going to LA and giving everything up and doing the LA thing, and I don't believe in it. I know that you'll see people who've made it, the 0.01% of people be like, I didn't have a plan B and I gave everything up and I moved to LA and I did all this stuff and I struggled until I made it. And and I was like, that's great. They don't talk about the 99.9% of other people who did the exact same thing and ended up homeless. Several of who I know. I know writers who did that. Went down there 4 years, gave up everything, ended up homeless, ended up couch surfing. Some got their shot and then lost their shot in 6 months. I mean, that fast. So, and LA is it's kind of a dead town right now. I mean, it's kind of a ghost town. You go down there, they're not making the productions like they used to. Most of the stuff is international. So you don't have to do that. You just have to be a great writer and really have a savvy business sense of what can I do with this product? Who can I market this product for? How can I get this made? Don't just think I have a great script. Think I have a great script for this niche that meets this market that has this much attraction to it. And then when you start getting it out there, the people they go, oh, okay, there is something for this. So That's what I would say. Like, you don't have to go down to LA and give up your life and leave everything for hope and a dream. You can do it smart. You can have a day job. A lot of writers have day jobs. Nobody admits it. They all do. Let's see if there's any questions here. Okay, so someone asked, BD Koenig, if you have a bunch of ideas, but none of them feel special or important or strong enough to start writing, what do you do? It's a great question. Thanks for asking. Does any of them feel interesting to you? That's what I recommend. What lights you up? That's the story you write. And if you don't have a story or an idea or a concept that lights you up, it's not ready yet. You're still, generating it. I wrote this thing. It's called Hipster Z, back when hipsters were a thing. It was about a zombie virus that if you got bit, you started becoming a hipster. So you stopped really eating. You stopped eating junk food, and you wanted to eat people because people were free range. They were non-GMO. They were all natural, and so that was my concept. I thought it was hilarious. Everybody I pitched it to told me it was stupid and they hated it, and some people even would pull me aside like, Jeffrey, don't write this. And I really wanted to write it because I couldn't get it out of my head. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I wrote this thing. It blew up. It did really well in a bunch of contests. Ended up going to the head of Frederator, who's doing cartoons for Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, ended up reading it and got me some opportunities. So write the thing that lights you up, and if it's not interesting, what would make it interesting? What makes you want to write it? So that's what I say. Keep developing, keep coming up with ideas until you find that one special idea, because when you have that and you write it, it's gonna have that special sauce to it, guys. See if anybody else has anything. So that is my take on the industry, guys. I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of clarity on it and a beacon of hope. It's so easy to look at these kind of dystopian monopolies and go like, man, what are we gonna do? But let's see what happens. And there is still opportunity for you. Find your lane, and of course, you can get those screenwriting leads on the website, thesuccessfulscreenwriter.com. Go to the blog and you'll get those there. And those are opportunities, so real vetted opportunities by pros. I really appreciate everybody stopping by, hanging out with me today. I hope Christy feels better, and we will see you guys in a week.